Bring me up to speed on you.
Yeah. God, I feel like, and I mean, I know that we're all kind of connected,
Yeah, totally.
I feel like I'm the one that is always pivoting and changing. That's just me. And I feel like for a lot of ways, it's just growth and I'm leaning into things and I'm getting clarity. And I feel like I'm always reinventing. And my latest reinvention is a lot of it is, and I know that you know this, it goes hand in hand with, business growth and self-growth and, all that stuff, right? My biggest one is, wait for it, that my business does not define me. What I mean by that is, it's not even about success. I used to have these connections with business success, and that defines everything else about my life. What I mean by that is, instead of making Epic, this baby that we've created, this virtual clinic that I really some days love and some days hate, right? What if instead of that being the end all of all things, that I get to download my brain and impact the world in this novel and creative way that, whatever is going on behind the scenes that I don't even know about? What if it's just a hashies and thyroid clinic? Like, what's that? What if that's all that is? What if it's just a really simple little hashies and thyroid virtual clinic that we're just nailing the shit out of 45 million American cases every single fucking day that's on there, right? And I'm like, what if that's what that is? And what if, and rather than letting that define me, what if I get to be more than that? But that's what that clinic is. And once
I was just going to say, is that what you're doing now, or is that where you're moving towards?
No, so that's the thing. It's so full circle, right? The way this stuff happens, right? The full circle is, I don't know how things come together, but at some point I found myself lecturing weekly, every other week, in front of some pretty, at least for the Midwest, pretty large crowds, 50-ish people, regularly about the thyroid. And I was putting together protocols and doing well, helping people, getting good results, all that stuff that you're looking for and you want. And then I don't, honestly, Ryan, I don't know what happened. It's like I got bored. I don't know what else to say. It's like I got bored and I started thinking about, I know I can do more. We can help other people. I'm pigeonholing myself. I'm getting into, I don't know if that makes any sense. Like I had this thing like I'm more than a one-trick pony. I don't know what else to say. That's just what it seemed like. And so I started saying, hey, I think we can do women's health. I think that we can do GI. Let's hit on some cardiometabolic.
Let me pause you for a sec. So I want you to be aware. Just so you, in case you didn't see it, I just flipped this live, but we're live just within our group. Awesome. So you're not live all over Facebook, okay? But I wanted you to know that before you slipped in some other stuff. So I just wanted to say that. But number two, I want you to be aware that what you're doing is not abnormal, man. Like you're polishing the gem is what you're doing. We call it in Men and Women of Iron, and one of the things that one of the evolutions that we do when people come out and do live events is I'll make them move rocks for like half an hour to an hour. And they start realizing on this beach, like the rocks never fucking end. Right? Like they just keep moving the rocks and they never pick a fucking rock to start to polish and to make something that's like, that's what you're describing is you're it sounds like you're starting to realize the gem. I guess my question, I don't mean to cut you off, but my question is like, is hashies and thyroid, like, is this your new gem?
I think it's a gem, and I think it's the gem I'm polishing, right? And it's the gem I was polishing a while ago until quite frankly, I don't know how to say this. We started, instead of speaking very specifically to that one avatar, that one client, that one patient, and really developing everything that we can around that one thing, if that makes any sense, be the best at that one thing. It's like we started talking to everybody, and then, pretty soon when you're talking to everybody, you're saying a lot to nobody, and we lost I don't know what it was, but we lost our edge. We became so diluted and so watered down. And again, I think the resistance was in my programming. I had equated, if my baby, my clinic, even though I've had other businesses, which is really weird. And by the way, Most of my other businesses have failed horribly. You know, so let me be super clear about that. But, you know, this one didn't. This is my baby. This is what, you know, this is how we're helping people. And I started to feel, like I said, that I let it define me. And I think that that's dangerous territory, right? Because you can start riding that wave of, oh my God, we crossed 7 figures this year. Oh my God, this year we didn't, you know, we're down, and, you know, and we can COVID it out all day long. But, you know, in my head, we're down 20%, and you know, and all that stuff that you do as a business owner, just trying to, you know, do all that.
The business owner roller coaster. I have no idea.
Business owner roller coaster. So I was proud that I was able to detach my, whatever this whole idea of self-worth is, to that roller coaster. But somewhere in those crevices, I had still attached that pigeonholing, that one-trick pony, that idea that the business, what it was doing, so the success doesn't define me, but what I'm doing in the business must define me then. And once I figured out that that's not real, that's just a little nugget, just like you and Jim and everybody. I mean, so many, you know, are Renaissance people that do so many things. Once I figured that out, and of course I knew it, I was able to set that down and just say, okay, well, what if my duty as the CEO of this business is to make it the best it can be? What can it be the best at? And I'm like, oh, hashies and Thailand. Yeah, I mean, it's like super straightforward now. So now that we have that lens, it's just like run, you know. And so when you ask me, you know, give me the update, it's been a crazy update over the last, literally, I'm talking, this is so fresh. This is like 3-4 weeks old at this point.
All right.
So,
wow.
So we're pivoting hard right now, but, you know, we're rebranding. We're, you know, everything that you could imagine, from banners and logos and the name of what we're doing and our groups and everything. Yeah.
You want to share the name of it?
We don't know yet. Right?
That's funny.
So we're Epic Functional Medicine, and I spent so much time branding Epic Functional Medicine, and I'm proud of the work that we did and we're doing. But honestly, I have it open to suggestions at this point. You know, I mean, I want it to be, you know, I mean, let me just put it this way. I'm not a copywriter. There's a reason I'm a doctor and not a copywriter, you know? So
I get it, man. I get it. Yeah. All right. Well, listen. So let's open the floor just a little bit wider for a second, and then I want to come back to this because I'm kind of excited about this. Within Men and Women of Iron, I've got guys that I help in the oil and gas industry. I got people in most of our clients, of course, are within the healthcare professional industry, but I've got people across like massage therapy and dentistry and chiropractic and all over the place. And in my mind too, Jace, I was like, this program works for everybody. Any professional owns a business, blah, blah, blah. It works for everybody. But I started to recognize too that message started to get diluted as well. So now I'm like, all right, listen, I got to work on the healthcare pros because that's who I am.
Yeah.
So I'm bringing in people that are working in the oil and gas industry. I'm bringing in people that want to work specifically targeted with women, specifically targeted with other things. They've got their own niche of people so that I too can focus. What you're doing is, I think, brilliant, because the more narrow it is, then when you start talking, copywriting or not, when you start talking, you'll start talking directly to a person.
Right. And I think that's what it came back to. And it's really strange. Like I said, it's like a full circle. I see the way the path brought me there. And I see that, you know, here we are in 2020. I feel like we took it's funny. I'm totally not trying to be political at all, but, you know, it's the day after election day. But I was just going to say, completely unrelated to anything, it's just the dates. I was going to say it's 2020, but I feel like I'm back in 2016. You know, where I am. But it's funny because, of course, we're seeing some strange election cycle things.
Fair enough.
2016 as well.
Fair enough.
So, you know, anyway, that's my whole politics. I'll be done.
Well, listen, bring people, just on you for a second, bring people full spectrum back to the beginning.
Sure.
How did Epic start? Who is,
Sure.
like, for people, like, people haven't heard about you already. I've got friends I didn't even know we're working with you. Like, it's crazy. This is the
Right.
connected network, right?
Right,
So,
and it's super cool. Yeah, so Epic is
give people
interesting.
the background on you.
Yeah, so the background, of course, you know, I don't know how far back you want to go, but, you know, went to chiropractic school, loved chiropractic school. Even before I was done there, I transferred to naturopathy school, finished that program out. I love the combination of that. I love that holistic view. I mean, it fit what I was doing. I had this idea of holistic primary care, and I really wanted to, break some barriers down there. And we're talking like 21 years ago, right? And then what really happened was my health fell apart. I mean, just in all full disclosure, just like you mentioned, taking, helping out those that help others. I think there's a special calling for helping
why
out.
We do what we do, Jason.
Right. I know. I think there's a special calling there for healthcare providers, because again, while I was pouring my heart and soul into, just like you and everybody, we're pouring our heart and soul into our clients, our patients, and I was getting lost in that shuffle really bad. And I know that, Men of Iron and your Freedom Project is very much about balance. And I was beyond imbalanced. I was sick. And I weighed 275 pounds. I, was waking up exhausted before my alarm would go off, like just praying that it was 2 a.m. instead of 6 a.m. But of course my alarm's going off. I'm willing myself to get out of bed. I am already in pain. My body is sore. Like I said, I had 100 extra pounds on me. I had migraines, brain fog. I am injecting coffee into my veins as quickly as I can all morning, all day. Definitely get in that tired but wired zone, giving everything that I could. And where it really fell apart, Ryan, honestly, where it really fell apart was I was driving home at night after a day of giving everything and sitting in my driveway when I had a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old inside that were just waiting for daddy to come home. And I had nothing left to give them. I mean, nothing. I had nothing left. And I could barely at that point work enough to, put a roof over their heads and feed them. So I had to step back. And around 2004, I ended up leaving practice. The way life works in the universe, and there are no coincidences. One of my friends and classmates, actually from chiropractic school, was passing through town and in between gigs, and I convinced him to stay on to help me out. And he took that clinic over for about 2.5 years while I was getting my head straight. I mean, it worked out for everybody, right? Which was, just cool coincidence, right?
He was just passing through town.
He was passing through town, visiting some other friends.
I got you for 2.5 years.
Yeah, no, seriously. And I bumped into him at a restaurant, and I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I got an interview in Colorado. And I'm like, we need to talk like right now, And it was just one of those things. So I spent that 2.5 years really pouring into me. And I was teaching. I went back and taught at the university. And in all of my spare time, I just tried to figure me out. And that's, I found out I had Hashis, thyroid problems. I really employed everything that I could from that whole idea of, unlocking that innate intelligence and doing everything that you could to make, I'm not trying to be goofy, but the vessel as healthy as it could be for that innate intelligence to, to shine through, whatever you want to say. So I'm employing every aspect that I could, probably some good things, probably some not so good things, but not, what I mean by that is not quite knowing what I was doing. But over about 2.5 years, I started gleaning the best of the best. And by 2007, I was down to about 195 from 275. I'm now weighed in this morning at 174, so I'm pretty happy about that. And I'm kind of maintaining that weight. But I had my life back. I had my focus, my energy. All of it was back. I went back to practice, and I really leaned into basically helping others like me. So from 2007 until about 2013, 14, I really leaned into thyroid and Hashis and autoimmunity. And that's when I really leaned into functional medicine and got, certified in functional medicine. And like I said, just employing everything that I could. And then I hit that boredom streak, right, that we were talking about. And functional medicine can help everybody. And I was making a joke with my far better half, Rachel. Anybody that knows her knows that she outshines me in every way possible, anywhere that you want. But we were talking about.
I like that.
It's just so. Anybody that knows her knows that I'm not even. I could gush longer, and it wouldn't be enough. So I'll quit while I'm ahead here. But nonetheless, we were chatting, like we came to this point where, oh, you've got an autoimmune problem? Yeah, no problem. We've got it. Oh, you've got cancer? Totally no problem. We've got it. Women's health issues? Yeah, come on in. No problem. We've got it. And it's not that we weren't helping people. I'm really proud of our outcomes. And one thing I'm really proud about with Epic is in that time, I became obsessed with outcomes and data. And so we've quantified everything that you could imagine, from lab data to symptoms to lifestyle grids to, I mean, like, and I know that you've done some of this with the Men of Iron and quantifying some of those pieces, right? But we've quantified everything that I can think to quantify and then tried to make sense of it. And what's really cool is, like I said, I'm proud of the data that we have. I'm proud of the outcomes. But ultimately, that white noise, even though I can say, yes, we can help these things, it became really hard to manage the business as far as, it's not that the passion wasn't there, it's just that the focus of the business wasn't there. And because of that lack of focus, in literally a year and a half, 18 months, we built out a space that was about triple in the size, hired a couple other providers, like expanded our team, like in every massively expensive way that you could imagine.
Nice, awesome.
You know, to lean into this thing that's like, we're going to own functional medicine in the Midwest. We are going to have the center for all of it. And we basically were not quite breaking ground, but we were heavy in the swing of it in March of 2019. And by, I think it was May of 2019, I said, you know what? I think we made a mistake. I think we're supposed to be virtual. I think we're supposed to do this other wackadoo thing. And by January of that year, by the end of that year, January 1st, we left that new space. It's a beautiful clinic. I mean, we built a spa level clinic. I mean, it's gorgeous, and ate it. I mean, we ate it. It was bad, and it was hard to eat it. You know, I mean, as a business,
I can't fathom, but I get it.
You know what? Because it's like you've gone down that path, and you're like, I just got to see it through now. You know, that seeing it through, Ryan, could have been a decade or more of my life, or more.
Are you guys 100% virtual now?
Yeah, we closed the door.
Damn you, son.
I know. We sold everything. And here's the weird part. So this was January, right? Yeah. And I'm telling you, sometimes the choir is singing to you and you hear it, and sometimes you don't realize they've been singing until later, right? COVID hit. I mean, and God knows, I didn't want to go down that road, but COVID hit, massive disaster everywhere.
Touchdown.
Right? And I'm already online. So in a matter of like 3 months, it went from us talking to people that we know we can help, and I'm going to make a joke, but those rural Iowa grandmas, right? We're on a call with them trying to explain telemedicine, you know, and they're like, what? I don't have to come in, and what's the video and how that, to March, April of the same year, and it's like everybody's doing it. And I was like, and not only doing it, let me say this, we were already set up. We had it all figured out. Our EHR worked, we were already set up with Zoom, and we had HIPAA compliance, and we were literally already going with it. And then it hit, and I watched and helped. I mean, we weren't just sitting by idly, but we watched our friends and colleagues scrambling. And I was like, oh man, here's what we did. Here's what, and I think that you were doing that too, but really trying to be a sense of calm in the storm. And I'm telling you, it's just one of those things. So ultimately, after COVID hit, we were able to say, this is where we're going. And now we're back to thyroid. The brand is tightening up. We're back to where it was. I have a book meeting coming out on Monday, which finally, we have the bones for a book done called the Epic 5 plan, which is the lifestyle plan that we've used,
cool.
But I think we're going to brand it with thyroid and hashies, right? So again, we're just going to write that overlay into it. So again, we're just leaning into everything with that hyper focus.
Okay, so listen, so you guys got ahead of the curve as far as the virtual world in medicine. Phenomenal. And yeah, I mean, one of the reasons why I got into helping healthcare professionals and doing the coaching and Men of Iron, etc., is because it's not just you, and it wasn't just I crashed too, and I thought for sure I was alone. Like, Jason, when you went through your own healthcare crisis, tell me you didn't think like you're the only effed up MFer that's going through this. You start to realize like there is more of us burning ourselves to the ground. The best thing about going into virtual for me was that, again, when this all hit, coaching didn't change. The people that I was helping didn't change. So for me, coaching blew up, and now my practice is like the thing that I kind of just still do for fun. And right? So like you, but what's my question for you is this. There's other people that are out there that are dying to get into the virtual space. Like
Sure.
there's, for whether it be coaching, consulting, their physical medicine, whatever it is. What are some of the big lessons you've learned? Are there anything that you can share that's like, don't do this, or any of the big ahas that you've made?
There's so many. I'm just trying to figure out which ones to draw from, to be super honest. I mean, and mostly I'll tell you the reel that's going in my head is, what can I share to just basically, here it is, don't make these mistakes, right? And I really mean that. And I'm going to say something out of love. And I know that most of us know this, and this is not a universal truth. This is my truth with my perspective and my experience. But I think one of the things about the virtual space that's very different is especially if you're used to, there's two things I'm going to share, especially if you're used to that more intimate, actual in proximity connection, right?
Sure.
I mean, say whatever we want, but a digital connection is different. And I think that the interaction has to be a little different as well. And it's, I was talking to our older daughter as an example. She's in college right now, first semester college. She's doing gangbusters good for her first semester. But she said there's not a lot of engagement in the classroom. And I would say the same thing. It's hard to get engagement online. I mean, God knows I haven't mastered it, but I mean, it's to me anyway, it's work. And I think a lot of it is learning also, especially online, because we don't have the some of those subtle cues, those social norms are lost somehow in this transaction. Right. And again, we've already got the screen, and we've already been at least programmed to a certain extent to believe that things on screens to a certain extent are removed from us.
So are you talking about engaging one-on-one with your client, or are you talking about engaging new people?
Both, all of it. Right. And that's the whole thing, right? Where I think that some of those social norms are lost. And I think that we have it, like there's a new style of interaction.
Yeah.
I'm not sure exactly what it is, but I know that I hear from a lot of people that it's just difficult to connect online. And I think from both the patient point of view, it's new, but I think they're getting used to it. But from the provider point of view, I've had a number of people reaching out to me saying, I can't stand it. I can't stand being on screen. I thought I'd like it. I'm missing, something's missing in there. And I think,
I mean, if I can share on that, I mean, we've got in the coaching space, it's a little bit different because I ask that everybody that participates in our programs to get extremely vulnerable. So there's the conversations that we have are in much more in depth than a lot of people like, and those people that are very introverted, for example, that don't like to see their face because they've got stories about themselves. This can be definitely an uncomfortable space, but in the coaching world, I get rid of that immediately. So, I mean, I hear you. Because
and that's what I was going to say, that I think that the therapy for that is vulnerability and transparency. That's where I was going with that. I think that it requires us, the consultants, the coaches, to be vulnerable ourselves and then to allow for that vulnerability. And that's exactly where I was going. The second thing that I would say, though, for getting into that space, especially going from, something that's not completely virtual to virtual, I don't know how to say, and I think the world is changing anyway, and maybe this isn't where you were going, but I will say where I made a lot of mistakes. My biggest number one mistake, I don't know how many, I want to say tens of thousands of dollars I've invested and just made mistakes with it, but it's probably even more than that, and I don't even want to calculate it, is trying to outsource what I'm going to call marketing. I think outsourcing is tough. I think there are some good agencies that are out there. I haven't had a lot of great luck with agencies. That's just me. And I think part of that is because agencies, a lot of times, especially in the healthcare world, have an idea of what that person does or who they are, and they'll try to market in that direction. Yeah. Whereas, as you and I are saying, like, we need to lean into like who really we are and the most transparent and authentic that we are and the most passionate pieces. And it's hard to do agency work in that space. And I think it's better. I mean, what I've learned is I would have been better off this is me, again, this isn't a universal truth. This is my truth. I would be very much financially ahead if I would have taken that time and, like I said, learned how to be a little bit learn how to take that in-house a little bit more. I guess I don't know how to say that. I mean, really, we don't even do advertising. I don't think that you do either, right? You're just out there being you at this point, and people find you, and you can't ad agency that out. That's a hard thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, we do bits and pieces, but like our chiropractic business, we'll hire an agency for a period of time to add surplus when we're like bits and pieces, our systems are so profound that we do well when people come in from when we use agencies, but we use it as spot stuff. I find, like what you're saying, is that people want to develop trust and value in somebody before they want to buy online. So they want to know who Dr. Bradley is. They want to know who, like, people that find me in the Men and Women of Iron have either been referred by somebody they trust, or they've been watching me for 6 months yab away at all the different things that we do, and eventually they just go, okay, I got to put my hand up. But it takes them 6 months before they build kind of a trust. The online space is one of those weird places where it's like, okay, just another guy that's kind of spilling his beans, right?
And I think that's the mistake. That's, I think, where I was trying to get to, where it's like, I think I hear a lot of my colleagues, a lot of my friends, wanting to jump into that space, thinking it's going to be a real easy transition. Totally. I'm an expert in a brick and mortar. I've got some people think I'm smart there. I'll just move online and be smart there. And it's a different animal altogether.
Totally is.
And like I said, that's just been my experiences. But I did want to say, I caught your preview teaser before we had our audio issues, and got together. But I really wanted to say, I mentioned the one thing, like the big thing that I learned, going virtual, and now I work, in my home, and I love it, or on the road, or wherever the heck I am, right? It doesn't matter where I am, and that's the beauty of it, right? But I would say mostly I stand here a lot, and I like it, and I have some other, areas that I work from too. But the thing that I'll say for sure is that when I moved from the brick and mortar to the home office situation, and again, my far better half, Rachel, and I work together. I always say she's the brains and beauty of the operation. I'm just the guy that's willing to talk in front of the camera, and I genuinely mean that. But that all said, we are workaholics on top of it, and I think a lot of the folks that we tend to have that work. We don't have work ethic problems, right? The people that we're all hanging out with, that's not what the issue is. If anything, we think too big and we need to scale it back, so we end up working a ton. And I think that's the other thing that I would say is really start to set boundaries, really start to say, sometimes it's physical boundaries. I'm working here. And maybe there's a space in our house that's not work, But the other thing I was going to say, and this is what really caught me, or caught my ear, and you were just kind of going through the 5, I can't remember what you called them, at the personal, professional.
Personal growth secrets and habits.
Yeah, exactly. And I was listening to those, and I had mentioned to you when we were chatting about the setup for, tonight, and I said, I have the carrot that I was dangling. I'm like, I've got a tool that I want to share. Yeah. And it's funny because you sort of shared it. And I love it because I think it was number 4. I'm pretty sure it was number 4. But that's the thing I wanted to talk about very quickly about working from home, setting those boundaries. One of the things that, and again, I think sometimes really great people, say things, and it takes a while to trickle in and sink in, it does. I'm a slow learner. Once I learn it, I own it. But, especially concepts, sometimes I got to get hit, clubbed over the head a couple times, right? So I came up with this idea. From an amalgam of voices in my head that I was not quite conscious of, I came up with a unique idea, right? And the unique idea is called the best self schedule. And I already know there's a scheduler out there called that, but let me explain my idea and how it's exactly number 4. Here's what I've done my whole life, from as long as I can remember. And most people that I've talked to do it this way. We have a calendar or a schedule, and there's things that we have to do, like I'm making this up, but I have to go to work from this time to this time, or let's go before work. I have classes, right? So I'm a student. I have classes from this time to this time, and there's things that I got to do, and and then I got to work, and this is my work schedule, and this is what I would do after all that stuff got on my schedule. Then I would say things like, first of all, I wouldn't even think about it. I would think things, not plan, but what did you call it? I would have goals, not targets.
Yeah.
So I'm going to use your language, right? I have goals, not targets. But I would think that then I would fit in my exercise.
Fit it in, man. I'll see if I can fit it in. I'm not going to prioritize it. I'm just going to see if I can fit it in.
So sometime over COVID, when my mind was meandering and all these voices were coming together in my head, I said, what if we did it differently? What if we started with a blank slate? What if everybody on the planet, I'm going to do it for me and see what it feels like. But what if we all just penciled in exactly what we need to do to be our best selves, our healthiest selves, our happiest selves.
Ideal week.
Yeah, the ideal week, right? So I started creating that, and it's a totally different dynamic. Of course, I created it sort of with the intention of it sort of needs to work too. But, as far as like scheduling in my meditation time, my hydration time, when I'm going to eat, my movement time, my alignment with my wife in the morning, my alignment with my wife at the end of the day, our like all of these things. I'm sure there's more to it than that, but our morning schedules, evening schedules, we got really hyper focused on little aspects of it.
I don't think you can see that, but it looks like this.
Yeah,
mine's in there.
Exactly. And so when you start doing that, all of a sudden, even though it seems a little overwhelming, because it did when I first did it,
to start with,
right? All of a sudden, you start really, if you commit to it, at least I did. This is what happened to me. I started really protecting all of that other stuff, and then I can't say I love work. I'm passionate about what I do, but that became the thing that I was fitting in, and it became a totally different dynamic in my life. I'm still working way too many hours, but it seems like I'm fitting it in rather than the other way around, So when I was hearing those personal dynamics, I was like, holy crap. Yeah. Rachel was even like, yeah, set targets, not goals. And we use SMART goals. So she's like, we're going to use SMART targets now, and all of these. Anyway, thank you. I appreciated that list, and it fit perfectly into the
I'm going to summarize what I think I hear you saying. Conservation of energy, my friend. When we balance all of the different balls, it takes a lot of energy. I call it the Steve Jobs principle, Doc. So Steve Jobs used to talk about with all of his staff, wear the same clothes every day. He had the same, it wasn't the same pair of pants, but it was the same kind of pants, the same kind of t-shirt, the same kind of shirts, or the shoes. So there was no more decisions about what he was going to dress up in when he came to work. It's like, do I have to iron that? Do I have to fold that? No. It's just like, throw it on, like take it off the shelf. Let's go. Throw it out when you're done. Like, get rid of as many of those different things. And I remember the same thing where I was like, we have a date every Friday night, and I have time to fitting in golf for myself on Saturday mornings. I had stories for years about how selfish it was to organize time for myself to do those things. And then all of a sudden, I start getting excited as Thursday and Friday comes along, because I know that I'm going to be able to get out there in the links and bat the ball around. But I didn't understand the process of how important the energy of that was.
Absolutely.
Dating my kids, all of the different pieces. It felt like I was squeezing everything in. Now that it's a habit, now I don't have to worry about doing absolutely everything for my children. I know when I'm going to date them. I don't have to be there every single moment for my wife, but I know she's waiting outside my door here pretty quick. We're going on one of our 2 date nights per week tonight.
Awesome.
Right? We have a strategy around it. But when you don't have the strategy and you're fitting it in, basically you're saying that your relationship isn't a priority. Your body is not a priority. Yeah. Your fulfillment and your energy is not a priority. It's running yourself into a ground is your strategy.
Yeah. Well, and I was raised, with that great, whatever that is, I'm making a joke, but that type of work ethic, it's not great at all. I mean, it is to a certain extent. I mean, but give your neighbor your shirt off your back. Give a stranger your shirt off your back.
It's honorable.
I mean, but I mean, there's a martyrdom there. And I don't know when it clicked in my head where I mean, we all know this, but it's put your own oxygen mask on first. I was actually giving a lecture on with that statement, and I'm like, when the plane and the lack of this and the oxygen, and it's like, don't put it on baby first, because if mom goes down, baby goes down. And I'm giving this lecture, and in my head, I have the narrative that's like, I almost cussed there. I'll try not to, but I was gonna say, who the F is putting on your mask, brother? And I'm like sitting there telling myself this, and I'm like talking to 60, 70 people, and I'm like, then I go into imposter syndrome, right? I mean, so, follow me down that rabbit hole. We'll have another conversation about that someday.
Totally. So there's one of my last questions for you is this.
Yeah.
Now you've we won't use the word pigeonhole, but now that you're getting laser focused on where you're focusing, you've taken brick and mortar, you put it into virtual, you've taken wide open functional medicine, you're going more into hash, the specialty that really is the gift and the genius that you've been probably placed to put on there through your own experiences. What better a place to be. Now, when you're talking a lot about like your own personal freedom, you're talking about balance, all these imbalances, put your mask on first. What does freedom then look like for you? Because you're not an unsuccessful guy. What more? What next, man? Like, what does freedom look like for Dr. Bradley?
Oh, gosh, man, that's such a cool, it's such a, first of all, thank you for the question. Thank you for having me on here again.
No worries.
In the conversation. And also, honestly, I just want to say that I'm thankful and grateful to have, and I'm going to use a word here for it correctly, I think, to have the privilege to even answer this question, right? Because what an honor and a blessing to be able to stand here with a great person and have this great conversation and be able to say, like, what, we are fairly successful people. I mean, we're helping people out. I mean, we're not only successful in those ways that are like, hopefully like paying the rent and putting food on the table and all the stuff we need to do, but I mean, hopefully we're successful in our impact and our service and our love. And I know you are, and I love that we get this idea of like, okay, so we're there. What's next? Like, what does freedom really look like? Why are we still working, right? Why, like honestly, I think, Ryan, that's what you're asking. We've achieved that. We've achieved the American and our Northern American neighbor dream, right? I mean, we really have, right? I mean, there's always work to do. Nothing's ever perfect. And we're going to screw with some other things up. But I mean, ultimately, like you said, we're tweaking and polishing and kind of growing into that space. And I think what it is for me, like freedom for me is to know, I want to be able to look back and I mean, not to like pull from Brendon Bouchard, but I love this line from him where he said, I want to look back and say, did I live? Did I love? Did I matter? Right. And I think that it's really important because I think that I don't want to, nobody wants to lose, I don't know how to say this, but lose living while they're living. You know what I mean? I mean, there's a point there to that balance. And of course, love, I mean, I think that, John Lennon, I call him Swami John Lennon, saying it perfectly when he said love is the answer. I mean, of course it is. And I think that if we leaned into service with love, I think that we can get there. And then again, I want to look back and say, did I matter? And to me, that means that we were able to have an impact, like I said, on as many fellow brothers and sisters on this planet. We're all, hurtling through, dark space, and just trying to be the brightest beacons of light that we can be for each other. And I just want to be able to look back and say, I was able to do that.
Awesome. Well, and now with like, I don't know if this is the first time you've mentioned this. I don't know how often you brought up the fact that you're really starting to focus your stuff. Whether you like this becomes like the first launching pad of doing it. I want you to do that. So now I'm hearing what you're saying. I'm listening to you from the outside world. I want you to share how because again, I still don't know how, man. Like I have friends that literally like, yeah, I just did Dr. Bradley's this and I did his this protocol and I did that protocol. I'm like, what the hell? So it's not that people even need to figure out how to find you, but what's the easiest way for people to find you in the virtual space, Dr. Bradley?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Thank you. And I'm so bad at like sharing this stuff. So thank you for giving me an opportunity to share. Yeah, I mean, I think the easiest way to find me is probably right on social media. And I mean, I can be found, at Dr. Jason Bradley. My @ sign is just @DRJ Bradley, easy to find. But I'm also Dr. Jason Bradley Thyroid Warrior, easy to find there. And then of course our website is epicfunctionalmedicine.com, epicfunctionalmedicine.com. Epic, by the way, I just wanted to let you guys know, just to kind of share this. I'm a little attached to it. People always say they're not married to things. Epic, in this transformation, that in the story I told you, I meant to tell you, Epic stands for empowering the person to impact the community. And I really want, that's my freedom, my brother. That's what I want.
Great response, man. I love that. And like the synthesis of that, I can tell that seed that you once planted is now turning into the flower. I can completely see it. It's awesome.
I fought it for a long time, and it took your encouragement. I mean, it took some people, and I just thank you guys for sticking by me. And yeah, you know what? This is probably my official very first time I've spoken about this outside of our immediate, inner circle with our group and then our private clients. So no, I appreciate the opportunity to share. And like I said, thanks for having me on. And when is the next Minute Iron? Like what's the story?
Great question. It's a great question. So basically Men of Iron, because of COVID, has gone virtual just like you. So I personally have my next one in January now. Like I said, we've got our certified trainers. We've got 2 other trainers. They're starting groups in, we've got a Women of Iron that's down in California starting in January. And we've got Dr. Jeremy Roderick is starting his first Men of Iron down in Kansas in January. It's starting to blossom and take off. And gratefully for the online virtual space, we're able to reach people even without having to travel up to cold, blustery, kind of gross and gray Victoria, British Columbia in January, which is like my favorite time to put people in the ocean.
Right. No, I think that's just so fantastic, and it's so great that you guys are doing that. It's such a great mission. It's such a good outcome. I mean, it's such good people. Some of the coolest. I know you know this, and I'm gushing a little bit, but some of the very coolest people I know on this planet, and I've had the privilege of meeting some great people, are from Men of Iron, right? I mean, it's a pretty cool group. I mean, it's great.
We got a pretty cool group of people, I admit, and thank you for that. I appreciate it, brother.
You bet.
Well, listen, thank you for your time, brother. I want to connect again soon. Stay in touch, and I'm super proud of you for launching the new mission tonight. Yeah. I think it's awesome.
Thank you. And